Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around.
Okay, let's not. Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone. Okay.
He stood up against genocide, and for this, he was ambushed at his home, abducted and arrested. Arrested without cause, arrested without a warrant, by plainclothes officers who refused to give their names, just handcuffed and shoved into the back of a car, while his wife, 8 months pregnant, watched and tried to understand what was happening.
Yeah, they just handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do.
This is not a scene from some dark chapter of a distant past filled with black and white photos of bygone dictatorships. This happened here in the United States of America in March of this year. It's happening here right now. Mahmoud Khalil was a graduate student at Columbia University last year when he led protests against Israel's U.S.-backed occupation of historic Palestine and genocidal slaughter of Palestinians. But now, speaking out carries a high price, and free speech is no longer so free. Mahmoud Khalil is a U.S. resident, born in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria. But Trump officials say they've stripped him of his green card, and they're holding him in an ICE jail in Louisiana, far from his home in New York, far from his wife, unable to communicate with his lawyers or the outside world for days after his illegal abduction. But Mahmoud Khalil is still not silent, and he is not alone. As he stood up for the Palestinians facing Israeli bombs and the barrels of their guns, others are standing up for Khalil.
What do we do? What do we do?
People have rallied for his freedom. Hundreds, thousands, from New York City to Boston, Phoenix to Miami, North Carolina to Oklahoma City.
It's targeted, retaliatory, and an extreme attack on the First Amendment, and it reeks of McCarthyism.
Jewish peace activists protested inside Trump Tower. The people will not be silent, as the powerful try to silence the people's freedom to speak. To be willingly silent now will mean more unwilling silence later, because as we're already seeing, Mahmoud Khalil is only the first of many. The first of many to be detained, the first of many to be silenced, for themselves standing against occupation and violence, or even standing next to those who do. But the people will not be quiet. Not in the 1960s denouncing the war in Vietnam, not in the 1980s against the war in Nicaragua, not in the 2020s against the war in Palestine, and not now, in defense of those standing up for what's right and for their rights, in defense of the people's inalienable right to speak up and speak freely, in defense of life and those who fight for peace, in defense of Mahmoud Khalil. Hi folks, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Michael Fox. There are few struggles more important right now in the United States than the resistance and defense of Mahmoud Khalil and so many others. The Real News has been covering this story closely. I'll add links in the show notes. If you're a fan of this podcast, you'll know that I did an episode a couple of weeks ago on the St. Patrick's Battalion of Irish soldiers who fought for Mexico against the invading U.S. Army. In that episode, I featured a song from folk singer David Rovics about the battalion. Well, Rovics has now released a song about Mahmoud Khalil.
Mahmoud Khalil was born a refugee. Last December, he got a master's degree.
That is just a short clip. You can check out the full song in the link in the show notes. Rovics is currently on tour in several countries. He kicked it off in Mexico City, where he attended the St. Patrick's Day celebrations honoring the St. Patrick Battalion. You can sign up for his podcast and his Substack to find out more.
Syria, in a slice of Palestine, exiled by 1949.
This is episode 13 of Stories of Resistance, a podcast series co-produced by The Real News and Global Exchange. Each week, I bring you stories of resistance and hope like this, inspiration for dark times. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, like, share, comment, leave a review, or tell a friend. You can also see exclusive pictures of many of these stories and support my work in my Patreon, patreon.com/MFOX. As always, thanks for listening. See you next time.
Where you could find him with the backdrop of tents. Mahmoud Khalil was at home with his pregnant wife when one day came the visit that would change his life. Trump said he'd deport them, and now he's following through. ICE agents came and got him as they were sent.